Good evening, world. It's 6 o'clock. Hope you guys enjoyed my show I made earlier. Hope you guys enjoyed my very unique what I showed you guys why your book is sick. I know. You're gifted, Ivan. Yes, I am. Very gifted. I had to eat all day, so I'm fucking hungry. What are you eating, Ivan? I'm eating toast with butter and a hamburger on the side. It's leftovers from yesterday, right? My younger stepbrother bought burgers. We had burgers with fries, and I'm eating the leftovers. My stepmother's getting shawarma. She's getting shawarma. It's 5 o'clock right now, right? Yeah, my stepmother was getting shawarma in like an hour or so. Ivan, why do you think George R. R. Martin can't finish his novel? Well, I gave you my answer. There's three answers. The first answer, he has writer's block, which I think is the most plausible one. Second one, he's lazy. He's getting old. He's lazy. He doesn't want to work on his book. Obviously, and there's two reasons. The first reason, either he has writer's block. The second reason, he's lazy. He just wants to enjoy the fruits of his labor. The millions that he made off his IP, he just wants to enjoy his life because he's getting old. And the third reason, he's preoccupied. He doesn't really have time to work on his book. But I think the most plausible answer is the first one. He has writer's block. Yeah. Know how I know that? I know George R. R. Martin being preoccupied or being lazy is not the answer, because ever since he released a Dance of Dragons, right, which is the fifth book, I believe, George R. R. Martin published two books in 13 years. So if he had the time to write those books, he obviously has time to write. While he's doing all these other side projects, he wrote those two books. So if he had the time to write those books, obviously he has time to write Winds of Winter. I think he just has writer's block. He fleshed out way too many characters. His books are so long too. I heard Game of Thrones has like 1,300, 1,200. They're 1,000+ page books. So if you have all those characters and you have all these side stories and subplots, it becomes tough to end your book. Obviously, Game of Thrones has so many characters. Yeah, Game of Thrones has a lot of characters now. Ah, hence why one day I might do a documentary about writing fantasy. I can even talk about George R. R. Martin. I can edit it with text and everything and music. I might do a documentary, maybe a 1 hour documentary about it. I recommend all you aspiring fantasy authors stick to the three rule. Don't write any more than 3 books. Write a trilogy. If you want to write another fantasy trilogy, just do another trilogy. Because if you write more than 3 books, you can end up in a messy situation like George R. R. Martin. George R. R. Martin wrote 5 books, and when you have all those characters, you know what I'm saying, it now becomes tough to end your story well, because you flushed out so many characters in your series. And don't forget, George R. R. Martin has like 1,000+ page books, so there's more stuff going on with the characters. And now George R. R. Martin, okay, I don't know how to end this, because I think George R. R. Martin exhausted all his creativity into the 5 books. It's tough for him to think of an ending for his series. Obviously, he's in a mess situation. I believe George R. R. Martin has writer's block. That's my answer. I don't think he's lazy. No, he wrote 2 books, Fire and Blood, in the other book. So if he had time to write those books, he obviously has time to write Winds of Winter. He's just stuck. He writes maybe I don't know. He writes a chapter. He doesn't like it. He rewrites it. He doesn't like it, and he keeps going back. He can't finish it because he has writer's block. That's my answer, obviously. So, sir, Yeah, but I mean, you had writer's block for Zanes. Yes, I did. But because I'm such a creative genius, even when I had writer's block, I was still able to complete and write an entertaining chapter. It's just not as entertaining as my other ones. Because I have the creative gift that I have the heavenly gift that George R. Martin does now. George R. Martin may be a genius. He doesn't have the heavenly gift like me, right? No, I'm saying, yeah. Because I think George R. Martin, he wants to end his series with a bang. He doesn't want to write. He doesn't want his last two books to be shitty books because the fans love his other five books. Yeah, I don't want to. I don't want to write shitty books. I want to end it off with a bang. But he's obviously stuck. He doesn't know how to end the story. And don't forget, he's getting older. When you're older, your body doesn't function as well because he's now getting old. So it's tougher for him, obviously, on his body, obviously, on his mind. I know him, so yeah, a bit tougher, right? Yeah, I think that's the most plausible answer. Yeah, he hasn't published another book in 13 years. Obviously, George R. Martin has writer's block. Like, that's common sense, right? Like, what if he just lost the interest of writing books? No. That's not a good answer because George R. Martin did write two books in the past 13 years since Dance with Dragons. So if he had the time to write those two books, he obviously has the time to write Winds of Winter. He just doesn't know how to end his story. That's my answer to all you Game of Thrones fans out there, right? That's my answer about George R. Martin. He has writer's block because he dug himself in a mess situation by writing such long fucking books and a 5-book series. You write a 5-book series, like that's 1,000 plus pages, and you have all those characters. I don't blame him. That could be tough to finish. It could be very, very tough to finish your series, man. That's why for Zane's, I would never write a 10-book series for Zane's because if you do that, you can get yourself in a mess situation where you don't know how to end your story. I'm sorry. Because me, I'm more about quality over quantity. Like, write only 3. Yeah, I only wrote like 3 books, one story told in 3 volumes, but it's quality art. Instead of doing maybe 10 books, but it's not as high quality. Like, you have some amazing books, and some books are just not that good because you fleshed out your characters for so many books. You exhausted all your creativity in a lot of your books. It becomes tough to finish your manuscript, obviously. I think George R. Martin's in that situation. Unfortunately, right? I don't hate him, son. Yeah, I don't hate me, George. Son, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, man. Why did you have writer's block for Zane's the way George R. Martin does for his series? If he does have writer's block, no. I had writer's block in the sense that like I would write and I'd be stuck for a bit, and I have to really think in that sense. But I was still able to finish a chapter and write an entertaining chapter, but it's weaker than the other ones. That's my point. Because I had writer's block, those chapters are not as good as the other ones. In my opinion, anyways. Some fans might like those chapters more. I don't know. It just depends on the audience you rate. I had a little bit of writer's block, not major. Major writer's block means you can't even finish a chapter. Obviously, I was still able to finish my chapters, but I had a little bit of writer's block in some of my chapters in my book, obviously. I had to really think how do I progress the story. And I was able to pull it off. Those chapters are still entertaining chapters. The prologue, I had a little bit of writer's block in that. When you guys read it, you guys hooked, yes. Young Tactius, I did not have writer's block in that. Landing Chaos, I had writer's block, and Secret Council Surprising Arrival, I had writer's block in that chapter too. I pulled it off, I was able to, you know. Sorry? That's my point. points. I'm sorry. Emma. I bought a 40 of beer. So you got your $20. Yeah, I got my $20. My stepfather gave me the $20, obviously. If you were a full-time author when you're getting, would you keep the fans waiting 13 years? No, 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 no. I'd be releasing a book, I'd be releasing a book every, like, 2-3 years at least. Every 3 years I'd be coming up with another book. I wouldn't be releasing it like every year like Stephen King. Because Stephen King writes like every day of the year. That's why he wrote like 100 plus books. 80 to 100 books, obviously. Me, I'd be releasing books every maybe 2.5, 3 years if I was a full-time author when I'm King, obviously, which I'm not gonna do. I'm not gonna be a full-time author. I want to be a movie star RPG, but if I was an author, I'd be pumping out videos every like 3 years, every pumping out books every 3 years. Well, I don't keep the fans waiting, obviously. But for self-publishing, you can take your time. You don't have to worry about the fans that much with self-publishing. With traditional publishing, the houses put pressure on you. Unless you're a mega hit, then they'll let you take your time as long as you want because you made the company so much money. George R.R. Martin is the exception because he made, I believe he's with Penguin Random House. Yeah, he made Penguin Random House so much money, hundreds of billions. George R.R. Martin made Penguin Random House billions of dollars. Hundreds of millions, so maybe about a billion, $5. So what? They yeah, he's a big author. Fans love his book. He's the exception. They don't mind waiting until he finishes the book, obviously. And he submits his manuscript, and they obviously polish up his manuscript. That's what I'm saying, yeah. That's the con about traditional publishing. Yeah, man. But if you're a bestseller, the houses will cut you slack because you made them so much money. But if you're not a bestseller, if you are a bestseller, but your book sold maybe 50,000 copies, they can put pressure on you to finish it. Obviously, with self-publishing, you can take your time. But I would never keep the fans waiting for 13 years for another book. No. I'd be releasing books at least every 2.5, 3 years. I just have a goal. Once I finish the other book, I take maybe 4 or 5 months off. I dedicate 5 pages a day, and I finish it in like another 8 months. You edit it, you design your cover, and then you now that book's ready to be released on Lulu. No, you get some saying, you know. Ivan, you release all your books on Lulu? Yes, because Lulu I make the most money. I make 80% of the pie. I'll be releasing it on Lulu, obviously. Yeah, if I was a full-time author when I'm King, I'll be releasing all my books on Lulu. Because I get 80% of the money, obviously. Yeah. I'm not going to be a full-time author, guys. That's not my dream. My dream is being a movie star RPG. It's not being an author. Simsara? Yeah. Oops. I fell for all this. Yeah. Did you guys enjoy what I showed you for the unique? Yeah, we did, Ivan. Yeah, I know. Ivan, that's sick. Almost as good as Zane's. Yeah, it's pretty much almost as good as Zane's unique. But it's not Zane's. Zane's is a bit better for me, but their unique is amazing too. What I showed you guys. But tomorrow, if I do write 2 pages, I'm not going to show you that. I'm just going to, if I do write 2 pages all week, by next like Friday, I will finish chapter 1. Obviously. Because I'm already on 5 pages. So if I write 2 pages, let's say tomorrow, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, that's 10 pages. I'm at 15 pages on my computer. Around 15, 16 pages on my computer, I'll be done chapter 1. Obviously. And some pages will be maybe 18, 19, 20 pages. Obviously. Well, you think they're going to be a long book? No, it might be maybe a 250 to maybe 300 page book. 250 page book maybe. Once they edit it, maybe a 260, 270 page book. It won't be that long. Romance novels not that long, man. They're on average like 200. Some romance novels are even 200 pages, 250, 300 max. Whereas fantasy epics are usually long, obviously. Like Zanus is a long book. It's not as long as like Game of Thrones and Lord of the Rings: The Way of Kings. You guys know what I'm saying? Yeah. Why is my phone tilting like this? That's better, right? Yeah. Well, Ivan, show us more of Zayn is. No, zero. I already spoiled enough of the story for. I already spoiled a little bit of the story for Zayn. I'm not showing you guys anymore, man. I almost spoiled story for you. So when you read my book. And Very Unique, I'm not showing you what I wrote down. If I write Very Unique tomorrow, I'm not going to show you what I wrote down. Because I can't show you everything I write down. Otherwise, I'm going to spoil the whole chapter 1 for you, right? You guys already read what I wrote for Very Unique so far. I'm not showing you guys anymore. And I hope you guys are impressed. Yeah, we're impressed, man. It's fucking entertaining shit. Yes, it is. I have the gift, obviously. I'm creative genius, right? Ivan, do you know how chapter 1 ends? Yeah, I already have an idea in my mind what I want to happen for the story. I have like the whole chapter 1 plan in my head already. And I already have an idea for chapter 2. Just gotta think and brainstorm, and I'll be able to write a masterpiece, obviously. Anyway, so guys, I'm gonna go upstairs and get some coffee myself. I'll be back in a second. I'll catch you on the show. Don't hate him, son. Alrighty, guys. Went upstairs to make my coffee. Ivan, if you write Very Unique, will it be a mysterious cover? No. It'll be like the proposal. Something like this. A picture of a guy and a woman. It'll be a cover like this for Very Unique. The proposal is only a 300-page book, man. My book will be around the same length, right? Maybe a little bit shorter, maybe 270 pages. Once they prove it. On my computer, it might be maybe 140 pages. My Very Unique book, 150 pages. And once they edit it, it's like almost 300 pages, 280, 300 pages. Because you have the spacing, the sentence structure spacing, right? Because Very Unique is not edited. You guys caught grammatical errors, obviously. Very Unique is not edited, obviously. Because I don't know that much about grammar. I know the basis of grammar, but I don't, the sentence structures and everything, I don't know anything about that. That's why I have to get it proofread if I write their unique right. So excuse the grammatical errors, guys, when you read my book, right? I'm not that knowledgeable with grammar. I don't have the USB of the English literature like you guys have. A lot of you smart English people have, right? Yeah, I mean, I love you, but my book is sick. So the gates know your brand is valuable. Oh yeah, they know it's very valuable. It's very valuable because I wrote it and I have the keys. In that sense, it's very valuable. And they also know it's my Ivan's IPs are what? It's pure cinema. It's worth a lot of money, man. It'll be very popular, more popular than all our IPs. Their unique will be more popular than even Twilight, man. If I write it, and Zane's will be more popular than Lord of the Rings and Star Wars and Game of Thrones. Bigger IP novels, IPs, right? Evan. Sarah. Evan. So I hope you guys are impressed by I showed you there. You guys were impressed. You wrote that? Ivan, once you show us you wrote that in the past 2 days, yeah, today I woke up, I wrote their unique. Yesterday I wrote their unique. And tomorrow morning I might just do a thing where every morning when I wake up, I work on their unique. Obviously. I used to do a thing where I worked on Zanus like in the evening, but at nighttime. Working on nighttime is not good because you get tired. It's a bit depressing. Work on it in the morning when you wake up and get it over with. All you gotta do, Ivan, is just dedicate 2 pages a day, and in like 7-8 months you'll finish their unique. Then now you have to save like $2,000 for Zanus. You gotta save another $1,800 maybe for their unique to edit it, obviously. Their unique might be maybe 80,000 words novel. So if it's an 80,000 word novel, it'll cost me maybe $1,500 to proofread it. Whereas Zane's, because it's 200,000 words, that might cost me $22,300 to proofread it, $2,400 to proofread it. You got some Sarah? Yeah, Ivan, man, you're a gifted man. I know. Even your their unique story, like I already see a masterpiece, Ivan, in there. That's fucking. I'm hooked reading that too. I know. I have to have the gift. I just write and I read it, and I'm hooked reading it. And it's amazing. Obviously, I don't know how to do it. But Zanus is a bit better, obviously, but their unique is also a masterpiece. Will be a masterpiece too. Hopefully, anyways. Crossing my fingers. I hope their unique is a masterpiece, but I don't think I'll ever top what I wrote for Zanus. But my goal is for their unique to be also a masterpiece too. I want to write an amazing novel, obviously. Yeah. Obviously. What if you write their unique, Ivan, and you're not satisfied with the book and it's not good? I won't release it. Even though I know I'm going to make my money off it, I won't release it because I care a lot about my art. When I finish the book and the book is not good, I'm not satisfied with it, I'm not going to release it. I'll just release Zane. I know Zane's is a masterpiece, but if their unique is not that good, then I'm not going to release it. Obviously, yeah, but I like you will still read it and pay for it. Yeah, I know, but like, I don't want to release a shitty book and rip you guys off like that. There's nothing worse than paying a lot of money for a book and the fans don't like your book, man. You're better off just not releasing it. But so far what I've written, I'm impressed, and because I have the creative gift, it will be a masterpiece. They're unique. We have masterpiece too, an epic romance masterpiece, but it will not be as good as Zanus. Obviously, Zanus is better than their unique. My bit, right? As you guys read, right? Yeah. So Sarah, I have my 40, my Coke 45. I'm gonna drink my Coke 45 after I upload the Joy Show. You guys drink my Coke 45. And after that, I'm gonna have some Subway. Sorry, not Subway, shawarma. My stepmom is buying shawarma. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if you want to write there, you need just dedicate a goal, write 2 pages every day. Obviously, and in a good like week and a half, you'll finish each of your chapters. So in a good like 3, 4 months, not 7 months, like maybe 4 months, I'll finish the book. Next year, in the end of January, early February 2026, I'll finish their unique. And I'll make the announcement, yeah, I finished their unique, and everyone's like, holy shit, I even pulled it off. He actually wrote his romance novel. Yes, I did. Obviously. Because I remember before, when my old miscellaneous series, I talked about how I wanted to write romance and fantasy. But because at the time I was still working on Zanus, when I started my miscellaneous series like 6 years ago, it was stressing me out writing 5 pages a day. So I kind of took their unique and I put it on the side. I put their unique on the shelf on the side for now. And maybe I might come back to it later. And then 6 years later, I'm like, you know what? I finished Zanus. I just got to go over volume 3, polish up a few things here and there. It doesn't hurt for me to finish their unique too. I started. I got to finish it, man. I got to finish this book. So I gotta be motivated and just write two pages a day, and I'll finish the book in like 4 months, guys. Obviously. So, Sarah? So, Sarah? Give me a sec, guys. My coffee's ready. I'm gonna go get my coffee. I'll be back in a sec. No names, no guys on the show. Oh, sorry, I turned the lights off, guys. My bad. Sorry about that. Yeah, I can turn the lights off in the morning when the sunlight, but when it's evening, it's very dark. You can't see me, right? Well, I even want you to be a full-time author when you're king, because are you crazy, guys? You really think I'd be a full-time author than have that glory with me as movie stars? Are you crazy, man? I'd rather be a movie star than be a fucking author. I'm only writing Zanus, and perhaps they're unique because the gatekeepers lock the doors on me. And I love writing books too. It's fun being an aspiring author. I'm only writing books because I have no choice, man. It's cheap. That's what I can afford, right? Books is cheap. You just need a brilliant mind and a computer and a notebook. You can write on your laptop, and getting it edited is only like $2,000. That I could afford. I just gotta save my money, and then it's ready because it was cheaper, obviously, books. You just need a brilliant mind and a computer, and I don't know, a few $1,000s saved up for your proofreading. That's it, right? Yeah. Yeah. Ivan, if you wrote Game of Thrones, you think you would have writer's block like George R. Martin? Yeah, I would. I probably would too. Because if you write like a 1,000-page book, and you write 5 books, obviously it becomes very tough. You want to do a 7-book series, that's tough, man. Because if you have all those characters and you exhaust all your creativity into all those characters and to your story for the 5 books, it now becomes tough to end your book, obviously. Because I heard Game of Thrones has a shitload of characters, man. Like it has like a lot of characters. Yeah, it has a lot of characters. I think George R. Martin's in a messy situation. He has writer's block. He can't finish it. He can't. I believe he can finish his books, but if he does finish his books, they will not be satisfying to the fans. Because George R. Martin wants to write an amazing book for the fans. Yeah, like these chapters that I'm writing are all like they're shitty chapters. I have to go back and rethink, and he's stuck. Obviously, he has writer's block. That's why I think what's going on with George R. Martin. Obviously, he has major writer's block. That's why it's been 13 years, and you haven't heard any news from him about Winds of Winter, right? Being finished, yeah. Obviously, but if I did write Game of Thrones, hypothetically speaking, I never would have written 7 books. I'd do a 3-book series, and I would end it there and move on to another genre. That's what I would do. Because I have something called the 3-book rule for fantasy. Ivan, are you into writing series? No, I'm not. I'm more of a standalone kind of guy. For fantasy, I recommend you don't do standalone. For fantasy, it's good to have a series. You can do, I think don't go any higher than 3 books, guys. You can do something like Lord of the Rings where you tell one story, you just split it into 3 books, or you can just write one individual book, one second individual book, one third individual book, or you can just bundle it all together into one book, but it's divided into 3 parts for the story, like Lord of the Rings, like my book Zanus. But don't write any more than 3 books, guys, if you're going to write a fantasy novel. Otherwise, you can get yourself in a mad situation like George R. Martin is right now with his Game of Thrones, Song of Ice and Fire, some Sarah. Yeah. But I'm a standalone kind of guy. Like me, if I wrote, the only genre whereby I would do a series would be fantasy. I already did a series, a Zanus series, fantasy. Zanus is one story divided into 3 volumes. It's a series, obviously. But it's like one story just divided into 3 books, just like Lord of the Rings. That's what I would do. Because I'm the kind of guy for fantasy. For fantasy, I prefer to just tell one long story and I divide it into 3 parts. It's a continuation of it's an exact continuation of the first book. Whereas a lot of these fantasy books, they do things where they release one book and the next book it's like 3 years later. I'm not a fan of that. I prefer to just tell one story and I divide it into 3 slices. That's how I like writing fantasy, like I did for Zanus. And if I did write other genres like a gangster story, a western story, a romance story, I'd probably just do a standalone book. But if I did a standalone book, it'd be a very long book, like a 400, 350, 500 page book. You guys know what I'm saying? 400 page book. You guys know what I'm saying? So you're not really into doing series. Aside from fantasy, I'm not into series. No. I'm more of a standalone kind of guy, a one and done. Just write an amazing book. Because I'm more about quality than quantity. Just write an amazing book the fans love it and move on to another genre or another story. That's how I think when I write books. As Dairy and Eek will not be a series, it's just one story, right? One standalone book, obviously. Some center. Yeah. Alright, do you think George R. Martin will finish Winds of Winter? Something tells me he will. But Dream of Springs, I don't know about that. Dream of Springs, I have my doubts. But Winds of Winter, I think George R. Martin will finish it. I think give him another maybe 3 years. I think when he pushes 79, he might finish the book, obviously. But if George R. Martin doesn't finish Winds of Winter by the time he's 80, chances are he will not finish his series. Because once you hit your 80s, you're now getting very old. Your body's getting very old. It'll become tough for George to finish those long books, obviously. Because he's getting up there in age, right? Yeah, he's getting up there in age, George R. Martin. He's getting up there in age. Sarah? Yeah. Emma. Yeah, Ivan, you're right. Maybe I should have just written 3 books. George R. R. Martin. I was like, yeah, George. Even though like fans would love more books from you, how you wrote your 3 books, you wouldn't be in this mess situation because you wanted to write like 5, 7 books, and you fleshed out so many characters in your story, and your books are so long. It's now tough for you to finish your series if you do have writer's block, George, or you're just lazy and you don't really want to write the book anymore. That's my other answer. But I don't believe it's about the lazy thing. I don't think it's a lazy problem because he did write 2 books in the past 13 years. So obviously, it's not about it. Laziness is not the issue. It has to do with him having writer's block, obviously. Like, I think that's the answer to all you giving those fans who are wondering why he's not finishing his book. George R. Martin has a major writer's block, obviously, for his story. Obviously. And his books are so long. Like George R. Martin said, his Winds of Winter book will be more than 1,500 pages. Yeah, if you write a 50, now I understand why you have writer's block. 1,500 pages. If you write a 1,500 page book, man, that's tough to. It's really tough to end a series like that when you have long books like that, man. That's why me, I would. That's why me, if I wrote fantasy, I would never write a 1,500 page book. No, I'd peak at maybe that 650 page range for a fantasy series. One story in three parts. I peak at 650, but once you edit it, it's now like an 850, 900 page book. That's good enough. You don't have to write a 1,500 page book. That's way too long. 1,500 page book is way too long, man. But for my book, 1,500 pages will fly by because I'm a creative genius. You'll be hooked for all 1,500 pages. If I write a 1,500 page book. That's crazy, man. I can never write 1,500 pages. That's crazy, man. For fantasy, I peak at like 600, 650 pages. Zane's is at 600 pages right now. But my younger brother added volume 1 and volume 2. But once the proofreader adds volume 3, obviously, once the proofreader edits volume 3, you'll be like about 850 pages in my book. That's good enough, obviously, because it's a masterpiece. The 800 pages are gonna fly by, obviously, when you read it, obviously. Yeah. So, Ivan, what's your advice to all us aspiring fantasy writers? Should we do standalone? Should we do a series? No. For fantasy, you got to do a series. It's very rare that authors do standalone fantasy books. No. For fantasy, I recommend you do a series, obviously. But I recommend do the 1-3 rule. Like, tell one long story, epic story, but divide it into 3 books like Lord of the Rings. That way, you don't have to worry about getting more major writer's block in your sequels. Obviously. That's my first advice. And stick to the 3 book rule. Don't write any more than 3 books. If you write 1-3 books, you can get yourself in a bad situation whereby you have major writer's block. You want to do a 7-book series, you can get yourself in a mess situation with George R. Martin, whereby he has major writer's block for his series. He can't figure out a good ending for his story because he flushed out so many characters and he exhausted all his creativity into his 5 books. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. That's my answer. Ivan, thank you for the advice. Yeah, that's my advice to you guys. I recommend do the 1-3 rule. Tell one story like Lord of the Rings or Xanus, right? One story and you split it into 3 different books or volumes or parts or whatever you want to call it, right? And don't write any more than 3 books if you want to write fantasy. That way you don't get yourself in a mess situation like R.R Martin, or why you get Major's Rise block. Stick to 3 books. That's good enough for your fantasy series. What about the other genres? Should I write series? Yeah, if you want to, you can write a series. But I believe for the other genres, like for thrillers, for gangster stories, for romance, like standalone books are good enough for those genres. But if you want to write a trilogy, that's fine. But for fantasy, I recommend you do a series. But do the 1-3 rule thing. Do a series. But for the other genres, you can just write 1 book. You don't have to worry about fleshing out more of your story and having some writer's block for your sequels, obviously. That's my point, right? That way it's easier on your mind, on your brain, obviously. That's my advice. But some fans agree, we know, I want to write a series, a thriller series, a romance series. Yeah, if you want to write a thriller series, a romance series, that's fine too. But for romance and thriller, you don't have to write series for that. It's only fantasy whereby you got to write your series for that. Either you do a 1 story, you split it, divide it into books or volumes, like my book or Lord of the Rings, or you do a thing where you write 1 book and then the next book takes place like 6 months, 2 years later, 3 years later, 5 years later, and you introduce more characters. If you want to do that way too, you can do that way too. But the easier way is always just writing 1 story, 1 long story, and then you split it into three different books, 3 different volumes, like I did for Zayn and Jared Tolkien did for Lord of the Rings. So. Whatever option is best for you, that's the option you should take, obviously. Obviously, right? Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, Xanus is like Lord of the Rings. Xanus is 1 long story like Lord of the Rings, but it's divided into 3 separate volumes. Just like Lord of the Rings is only 1 story. It's a continuation of the same story, but split into 3 different books, obviously. 6 different books, actually. Well, it's split into 3 different books, but there's 2 books within each of the books. There's 6 books in Lord of the Rings, but it's 1. You have Fellowship of the Ring, you have Two Towers, you have Return of the King. It's 1 story, but it's split into 3 different books. Obviously, that's how my Xanus book is like too. It's 1 story split into 3 volumes. That I think is the best way to write your fantasy novel. That way you don't have to worry about having a writer's block with your sequel, and when it takes place 10 years later, you have to introduce new characters. That can be a bit tougher for you. So if you want, all you aspiring fantasy authors, if you want to write a series, I recommend you do the 1-3 rule like Lord of the Rings and Xanus. That way it's easier for you. Or if you want to challenge yourself and do Game of Thrones, how George R. Martin writes, and Brandon Sanderson and J.K. Rowling, you can do that too, but it can be a bit tough for you because you have to introduce new characters. It's like 3 years later, so you have to introduce new characters. It could be a bit tough for you. That's why I stick to the 1-3 rule for fantasy. Just 1 story, split it into 3 separate books or volumes. And stick to the 3 rule, guys. Don't write any more than 3 books. That way you don't have to worry about exhausting all your creativity into the 3 books and having writer's block for your sequels after the 3rd book. Guys, I'm saying, what you just saying? Yeah, thank you for the advice, Ivan. Yeah, that's my advice. And I know what I'm talking about, man. I wrote a masterpiece, Xanus. You guys read my book. Yeah, I know what I'm talking about, man. Stick to the 3-book rule. That's my advice, obviously. I'm saying? Don't hate him, said, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Why? What do you think is a genre most aspiring authors would love to write? Fantasy, man. Because there's a big demand for fantasy. Like if you can write an amazing epic fantasy story, your brand can be huge, man. Fantasy, there's a really big market for fantasy. Yeah, obviously. Like fantasy is like number one in terms of potential. In terms of potential, fantasy is number one because if you can write an epic fantasy novel and the fans love it, like yeah, you know what I'm saying. That's why a lot of aspiring authors are dreaming. Yeah, I would love to write an amazing fantasy novel, but fantasy is the most difficult genre to tackle because it's a fictional world. It's tough, man. Yeah, man. Fantasy is not easy. Romance is a little bit more easy. Thrillers, those are a bit more easier to write because you're writing in it's the modern time. You can relate to the modern age more. They're a little bit more easy. But fantasy, it's a complete fictional world, and you have to make your world feel believable. You have to make your characters in your world feel believable. Fantasy is tough. It's not easy, man. To write fantasy. I mean, as I can't even Zanus is such an amazing book. I can't even come up with another fantasy novel. If I do, that fantasy book will be a letdown because I can't top what I did for Zanus. And I don't think I can come up with another fantasy world because I can't top what I did for Zanus. Obviously, that's why Zanus is the only fantasy novel I want to write. I'm not touching any other fantasy novels after that because I can't. I know it will be a letdown. It will not be as good as Zanus. Obviously, if I write another fantasy novel. Yeah. Zanus is so good. If I write another fantasy novel, it has to be in the same universe because I can't undo what I did, man. I wrote such a masterpiece. I can't undo that, right? I set the standard. Yeah, guys, I'm Sarah, and they're unique too. They're unique if I write it, and it is a masterpiece, which it will be a masterpiece. I will not be able to write another romance novel because I can't top what I did for their unique. Yeah, there you go. That's why I can never write it right now. Yeah, you're amazing. I know I'm an amazing writer. Yeah. Samsara. Yeah, yeah. My stepmother wants to go get shawarma. I'm gonna eat my shawarma later. I want to drink my beer first before I eat my shawarma. Right? I'm gonna drink my beer first. Now, yeah. While I watch the show, you guys, right? Close on it, guys. Talk for an hour. You only talk for an hour now? Yeah. I don't feel like talking for an hour and 40 minutes anymore. An hour is good enough, right? That's good enough, obviously. Will they be swearing they're unique? Yes, as you guys caught, there is swearing in my book. You have to have swearing in there unique. That way, it makes your in the modern days. It's nice to have swearing. That way, it makes your story more realistic, obviously, because everyone in the world swears, obviously, in real life. When they're pissed off, yeah, they swear, obviously. Some Sarah. I do think their unique will be an embarrassment too. Yeah, it will, as you guys read, right? I read the proposal, and I'm reading my book. My book, I'm a lot more interested in it than I am the proposal. The proposal is a best-selling novel by Jasmine Guillory. I showed you. It sold like 1 million copies, man. It was a huge hit, obviously, right? Best-selling. It was a New York Times bestseller. It was a New York Times bestseller. It's also a USA Today's bestseller. The proposal, written by Jasmine Guillory. Amazing book, by the way. I read it like twice, I think. It's an amazing book. But their unique is, yeah, all you romance fans will talk about, yeah, we read that book. Your book is more entertaining. I mean, yeah, the characters up on the page more. It's more entertaining than even that book. But that book has better dialogue, richness of the dialogue, and richness of the world building when they describe stuff, but it's not as entertaining. You guys from Sarah? Oh, yeah, I'm saying, yeah. Their unique will also be embarrassment too in the romance genre, right? Yeah. My book is so good, like after you read it, I kind of ruined the experience for you when you read other books, obviously, because no one writes the way Ivan writes. They don't have the heavy gift like me. Or there might be some people who do like those other books better. I will not be surprised though. Like some people might like Game of Thrones, Lord of the Rings, and Way of Kings better. I understand that. Those are masterpieces too. And some fans might even like The Proposal and Pride and Prejudice better than Their Unique if I write Their Unique, obviously. You guys from Sarah? Because I heard Pride and Prejudice was an amazing book, man. They made a movie out of it like 22 years ago with Keira Knightley. I never saw that movie yet, though. I'm gonna watch that one day. I heard it's like an amazing movie, Pride and Prejudice. That's an old movie. That came out like 2003, I think, when I was in grade 5, grade 6. I remember the trailer on TV, the Pride and Prejudice. That's an old movie. I never saw that movie, man. I gotta watch that with Keira Knightley, right? It's a romance drama movie too, obviously. Yeah. It's based off the book, right? It's based off the book of Pride and Prejudice, obviously. Yeah. Yeah, but Ivan, if you do write Their Unique and when you adapt the movie, will you co-write it? Yes, I will. If I write the book, then now because I don't want anyone ruining my story, I'll have to co-write it with a Catherine chick, whatever her name is, Catherine Hardwicke, who directed Twilight, and you have another screenwriter, romance screenwriter in Hollywood help you with the screenplay for Their Unique. If I write it, which I might perhaps write, if I can dedicate 2 pages a day, I'll finish the book in like 4 months, guys. Like January, February of next year, I'll finish. 2026, I'll finish, obviously. I now wrote 2 books, obviously. I wrote 2 books. Some Sarah. And those brand, the Gates are going to want to control my Their Unique brand too. They're going to want to control all my brands. Because they don't want me to control my money with BJ because they're crazy people, obviously. Yeah. The greedy pigs. Yeah, man. Yeah, I think my stepmother's here with the shawarma. Yeah. Are you gonna eat your shawarma now or later? I think I'm gonna eat it later. I like drinking beer first before I eat. Obviously, I get more of the buzz. When you drink before when with a pretty empty stomach, you get more of the buzz. Obviously, almost done it, guys. Yeah. Why do you really think some fans will think George R. R. Martin and Brandon Sanderson and J.K. Rowling are better authors? And yeah, of course, obviously they've been J.R. Tolkien. Yes, there will be quite a bit of fans who like those books better than my book because yeah, Ivan's book is amazing, but it's a bit raw. Zaynit and Larry Neek is a little bit raw too, which you guys call a little bit of raw in Larry Neek too when you read it. It's a bit raw. I like those books better. Yeah, if you like those books better, I understand, man. I'm not gonna judge you for it. Art hits everyone different ways. Seriously, guys, I'm being serious when I say that. Right? Yeah. But for George R. R. Martin, at least I can say, at least all the fans can say, yeah, Ivan finished his Zanus book, and he finished their unique, if I write their unique. Whereas George R. R. Martin, even though he's a legend, he wrote his masterpiece, A Song of Ice and Fire, Game of Thrones. He did not finish his series if he doesn't finish it right. That's why I'm talking to you, George. When you watch this video, man, you gotta finish your book, man. You don't want to go down as an author who wrote a masterpiece that's loved by the fans. And you didn't finish your series. I'm trying, Ivan. I have Rise Block. Yeah, that's the problem, George. You wrote way too many characters. You wrote way too many books. Your books are fucking long as fuck, and now you're stuck because you exhausted all your creativity into all your books, man. And you wrote so many books, it's tough to finish your series. Yeah, I mean, it's tough. I have Rise Block, man. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? That's the problem, right? With writing more than three books. You know what I'm saying? That's why I'll never write any more than three books if I wrote a fantasy series. As the example is saying, is I wrote one story and I split it into three books. After that, I'm done. I'm not writing anymore. I don't want to get myself in a nice situation. And for Very Unique, if I write that, I'm only going to write one book, obviously. Very Unique will not be a series. It's only going to be one story, like, I don't know, 300-page book. And that's it, obviously. That way I don't have to worry about having writer's block. Because writing way too many books, especially very, very long books, that's how you end up with writer's block. Because you exhausted all your creativity into a lot of your books, and it's tough to finish your series. If you write, whether you write fantasy, romance, or thrillers, gangster stories, you guys should say, I would just say, yes, that's my point. You're a genius. Thanks for the advice. You're welcome, guys. You are welcome. Samsara. Yeah. Okay. Shawarma's ready. I'll eat it later. Or I can just eat it now. I don't know. No, I'm gonna eat it later. Yeah. Yo, I mean, I hope George can finish the series, man. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? I know how he Game of Thrones fans, but it's been 13 years and George R. R. Martin hasn't finished Winds of Winter yet. He's stuck, man. He has writer's block, man. Oh, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, he has writer's block. George R. R. Martin. He's stuck, obviously. Hence why I recommend, if you're stuck, George, I recommend you get someone to help you out with it. Co-write with someone else and then have them help you out if you're really stuck, obviously, or just do your very best and finish it. Even if it's not as good as your other books, at least you can say you finished your series. Yeah, I know that I don't want to write like two shitty books. Yeah, I know how you feel, George. Even me, I'm the kind of guy, if I knew my book was shit, I wouldn't release it, obviously. I know how you feel, man. Yeah, I want to put out quality storytelling in Ivan. Yeah, I know, George, but you dug yourself in a hole if you have writer's block. You wrote way too many books, and the fans love your series, and now you have so much pressure on your hands. You have the pressure of finishing your book, but you also have the pressure of writing quality storytelling. So, yeah, like, I'm stuck. I can finish the series, but if I finish it and I half-ass it, it will not be a good finish of my story. The fans might not like that. That can ruin a bit of my legacy. Or I just gotta keep thinking, and hopefully I finish it. But you gotta finish a book, George. You don't want to go down as the author who wrote your masterpiece, A Song of Ice and Fire, and you didn't finish your series, right? Yeah. J.R.R. Tolkien finished his Lord of the Rings, even though he has his unfinished tales and all stuff. For the Lord of the Rings books, J.R.R. Tolkien finished that. J.K. Rowling finished her Harry Potter. I finished my Zane's book. You, George, you got to finish your Song of Ice and Fire series. But you don't want to go down as the author who's a legend who didn't finish his book, his own series, man. And you're not getting any younger, George, right? That's why I recommend you got to really pick up the pace. You got to really think and have a pretty good end to your story. Obviously, as long as it's pretty good, that's fine, right? Even if Winds of Winter, you know what I'm saying, George, and Dream of Springs are not as good as your other books. If they're pretty good and the fans still love it, I mean, it still worked out for the good, right? Yeah, that's my point, right? Because you can't please everybody with your story. That's my answer. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the show. R.R Martin saying out. Peace. Hope you guys enjoyed the show, my Mara. I have things for you, advice. You're welcome, guys. Peace out. Don't hang him, son.